Good morning, friends. Uh, Today we are going to discuss the next chapter of human nutrition subject, course code DC4209. And this video lecture is for those students also which somehow do not get the chance to attend the webinar for the same. So they can just download the PPT either from my channel or from MIDFT YouTube channel, and they can learn uh, the topic. So in this topic we are going to discuss the chapter safety aspects of food additives, toxic elements and radionuclides in milk and milk products. In today's era, the modern strides or modern technology has developed very much, but still in developing nations, providing safe food is still a global problem. Means providing food and providing safe food. These two are two different things. In many underdeveloped countries, providing food is still a global problem, and in developing countries, providing safe food still remains a problem, a crisis. Why that is so? Because the food is not safe. Why food is not safe? Because it is contaminated by many type of agents, and these agents can be broadly classified into two: chemical and biological. The chemical agents are insecticides, pesticides, antibiotics. They comes in the chemical agent category, and the biological agents, the if the food gets contaminated by any bacteria or fungus or parasite or protozoa or insects, rodents or viruses, foodborne viruses, then that is called as biological contamination of the food. And the problem is that the biological contamination of food is not reported, is underreported. Means if there are 100 cases, only about 10% of cases are reported, are documented, and that's why the problem is quite big. Then as it seems, it is bigger than the what it seems to us. Now coming to the today's topic, what are food additives? There are basically two definitions of food additives. The first one is on your screen, and the second one is on the next slide that is given by FAO and WHO. Now talking about the first definition, as per this definition, the food additive is defined as a substance or a mixture of substance other than a base foodstuff which is present in a food as a result of any aspect of production or processing or storage or packaging. What are the drawbacks of this definition? Means this definition includes both the food additives, both types. Means if something we have added intentionally, that is also food additive, and if something is added unintentionally, that also comes under this definition. But in actual case, the unintentional additives which are not added to achieve any effect in the food, but they gets their entry accidentally into the food chain or food system or food processing as a result of their use in agriculture production, raising animals, food processing or packing, are not food additives in technical sense of the term. What they are? They are food contaminants. They are not food additives. So this is the drawback of this definition. Then the second definition, which was given by Food and Agriculture Organization and World Health Organization. According to this definition, the food additives are non-nutritive substances. They are not of nutritive nature. They cannot provide any type of nutrition, but still they are added. Why they are added? They are added intentionally. The word intentionally to food, generally in very small quantities. For what purpose? For improving its appearance or flavor or texture or storage properties, means shelf life, or all of the above effects. But yet again in this definition also there is a problem, there is a drawback, as they have used non-nutritive. So if we are adding vitamin mixture or mineral mixture from outside, so they don't fall into the definition of food additives as per the FAO and WHO definition, because they are nutritive in nature. Then the question comes, why we are adding food additives? What is the need of adding food additives? There are basically three types of requirements of foods additives. First is that additives have provided protection against food spoilage during processing, during storage, during transportation, and during distribution. And also, with the present degree of urbanization, it would be impossible to maintain food distribution without the processing and packing with which many additives are involved. So, this is the need of food additives. The second need is that many foods, particularly those with high moisture content, means which are having higher water activity, they do not keep well, means they are having available water for the growth of microorganisms. All these foods are subject to microbial attack. Fats or oily foods means the foods which are having water as well as high fat content, they are particularly becomes rancid when they are exposed to either air or moisture, or both in case of humid air. The conservation of the quality of foods against agents causing such deterioration of foods requires the addition of preservatives, and preservatives are also a class of food additives. Third purpose is that additives are also used to color foods, add flavor, impact firmness, and retard or delay or hasten the chemical reactions in food to enhance stability with resulting reduction in waste. Till now, more than 3,000 different chemical compounds have been identified as food additives. They are categorized into different groups. A few of the additives are discussed here in the coming slides. Starting with the first type of food additive, that is antioxidant. What are antioxidants? They are the substances that are added to fats or fat containing substances which are rich in fats. For what purpose? To retard oxidation and thereby prolong their wholesomeness, palatability, and sometimes keeping quality or shelf life. And what is the mechanism of their function? Their function is by interrupting the free radical chain mechanism involved in lipid oxidation. We discussed in uh, other topics that the free radical formation involves three steps: initiation, propagation, and termination. So these antioxidants, they act on the propagation step and terminates it, and that's why they, in this way, they act and they stop the propagation of free radicals and stops the oxidation of the food. And they are also effective in very small concentration. They are only in the amount of 0.01 or 0.02%. They are enough to uh, to prevent oxidation. And what are the ideal properties of antioxidants? What an antioxidant should be like? It should not have its own flavor, its own odor, and its own color. Means it should not contribute to an objectionable flavor, odor, or color to the fat or to the food in which it is present. Secondly, it should be effective in very low concentration. Third, as it is added in those compounds which are fat rich, therefore it should be fat soluble. And the fourth is that it should not have any harmful physiological effects. These antioxidants may be of two types: natural and synthetic. And these are some of the synthetic antioxidants like BHA, butylated hydroxyanisole, BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene, PG, propyl gallate, and TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone. All of these are synthetic oxidants. All of these are phenolic substances. Means what is common in them all is that in their structure they contains phenols. Means in their structure they contain a benzene ring on which a hydroxy group is attached. This is common in the structure of BHA, BHT, PG, and TBHQ. Along with that, some natural antioxidant substances are also available, for example tocopherols. But the problem with them is that they are rarely used as they are more expensive than the synthetic ones. Coming on to the next category of antioxidants, that are chelating agents. Chelating agents or sequesters are compounds that form complex with metal ions. Actually, there are some metal ions which are released due to hydrolytic or other degradative reactions, and they are free to participate in reactions that lead to either discoloration or oxidative density or turbidity and or flavor changes in the food. Means these reactions are not desirable, and these metal ions, they participate in these reactions, they act as a catalyst and increases the rate of these reactions. So these are basically undesirable. For example, the magnesium in chlorophyll, iron in ferritin and hemoglobin, and the copper, zinc, and manganese in many enzymes. Copper, zinc, and manganese are part of the structure of many enzymes, and enzymes act as catalysts. So these metal ions, they need to be chelated, they need to be sequestered, and so the compounds which are doing this are called as chelating agents. Addition of chelating agent result in complexing of these metal ions and thereby the stabilization of the food. Means what these chelating agents are doing, they chelate the compounds and therefore they stabilizes the food. Chelating agents are not antioxidant, they serve as a squenger of metals which catalyze oxidation. They however are antioxidant synergist, for example citric acid and its derivatives, phosphates, salts of EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. So what is the major difference between antioxidant and chelating agents? That chelating agents are not antioxidant in nature. They just squench, they just take out the metal ions from the reaction mixture. So they do not allow the metal ions to participate in the reaction mixture. They do not allow them to increase the rate of the reaction. But the mechanism of action of antioxidant is quite different. They terminate the free radical formation mechanism. So both are different, and chelating agents uh, act synergistically to the antioxidant, but they are not actually antioxidants. They are comes in under the different category. That's why. The third food additive are coloring agents. These include color stabilizers, color fixatives, color retention agents, etc. They consist of synthetic colors, synthesized colors that are also occurs naturally, and other colors from natural sources. Colors are add nothing to the nutritive value of foods, but what they can add, they can protect the nutritive value of a food. For example, if some food is rich in vitamins, specifically water soluble vitamins, for example vitamin C, vitamin B complex, and in B complex also vitamin B2, riboflavin, which is a light sensitive vitamin. So if those food products are colored, then the color will protect them from direct sunlight effect, and therefore it will keep the nutritive value of the food. So therefore, although color add nothing to the nutritive value, but they can retain the nutritive value of heat or light sensitive food components. And most consumers will not take some foods. The colors are frequently added to restore the natural ones lost in food processing and to give the preparations the natural colors we expect. Originally, many color additives were natural pigments or dyes. For example, spinach juice for green color, marigold flower for yellow color, and cochineal. What is cochineal? A natural red pigment obtained by extraction from the female insect Coccus cacti were used to obtain green, yellow, and red color respectively. But synthetic colors generally excel in coloring power, color uniformity, color stability, and cost. Therefore, again, in this case also, as in case of antioxidants, synthetic colors are used more preferably than the natural colors. Furthermore, in many cases, natural coloring materials do not exist for a desired hue. Therefore, now synthetic ones are preferred over the natural coloring agents. What are the food products in which these colors are added? Carbonated beverages, gelatin, desserts, candies, bakery goods are some foods that are colored with coal tar dyes, a synthetic colorant. As a number of coal tar compounds have been shown to be potent carcinogens, cancer causing substances, the use of coal tar dyes as food additives is restricted. Therefore, A number of natural food colors extracted from seeds, extracted from flowers, extracted from insects, and extracted from foods are also used as food additives. One of the best known and most widespread red pigment is bixin. It is from where it is derived? It is derived from the seed coat of Bixa oreillana and the lipstick plant of South American origin. Vixen is not considered to be carcinogenic, so it can be used in whatever amount it is sufficient to produce its effect. The major use of this plant on a worldwide basis is for the anatto dye, a yellow to red coloring material extracted from the orange red pulp of the seeds. Annatto, here is a spelling mistake, it is annatto, has been used as coloring matter in butter, cheese, margarine, and other foods. Another yellow color, carotene, is derived from carrot and is used in margarine. Saffron is unique in terms of that it is having both coloring and both flavoring properties, and it has been used for coloring foods. So dear students, this was the video lecture of the first webinar. If you skipped that webinar somehow, then you can also refer to this video lecture. In the next lecture, we will discuss about some more classes of food additives. Till then, goodbye, take care, uh, stay home, stay safe. Thank you very much.